It shows six of us.
Six of us. Then
So I
are
think
we good enough to start?
Yes,
Anyone
yes.
new here today?
And
Uh,
I have started the recording also. So just repeat the name and this thing, theme of the month, and then we get started, whatever it is.
yeah. Do we need to recap the entire thing, what we have done so far? Is anyone
Yeah,
new
if
here
you,
today? Yeah. I'll
I
give
think
a
it would
quick
be great
recap.
actually. In fact, Deepa, I was thinking,
Mm,
since we have yet to start a new book, anyways, like what we can do, we can dedicate one entire day for the recap of the first 6 months, since it's the mid of the year already. So we can
mm,
actually do that also if that is of your interest, or
yeah.
maybe tomorrow we
Yeah.
can do that.
We
Whatever.
can do that actually. Actually, today, this chapter, no, it consists of about 18-20 pages, I think. Approximately 15-18 pages it is.
So
So
it's
we'll
big
see if
or
we can finish it today. Then tomorrow we can do a complete recap, have a
yeah,
full
yeah,
discussion, or
yeah, yeah. You
we
take a
can
call.
do it like if it is not possible today and tomorrow the reading, and Wednesday maybe we can keep the
Yeah,
discussion.
yeah. However works for you, no problem. Yeah, just a suggestion and an idea, because
Yeah,
some of them have joined us in the mid, so they will also
yeah.
benefit out of it, and it will be helpful in going forward since we are actually in the mid of the year. So it's like a new milestone, right? Like for everyone looking
Mm-hmm.
forward to the second half of the year. So that
Mm.
way, yeah. Okay, yeah,
So
we can do
shall
that.
we? Any readers are there? Do we have any readers today?
I can read after, but not the first one. Maybe after someone.
I can read if
Anyone?
yes.
Yeah, Mani Selvi, that would be great. Please go ahead.
Uh, are you asking me, Suman? I am Suman.
Yeah, okay, Suman. Okay, I because I can't see uh,
No,
uh
no, even the
the Zoom
sound
page. I can't see.
even I
Yeah,
got a little confused. Yeah, Suman's
yeah,
sound was very similar to Mani Salvi's. Hi.
yeah.
Hi,
Okay,
this is
good
Sunita,
morning.
right?
Good
With
morning.
iPhone, or Pranavi, like, because both have sometimes the same this thing.
Yeah, that's me, Sunita.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, great.
Suman,
I'll just
if you like, you can go ahead and read. It's a
Okay,
small
okay.
chapter.
So
Yeah,
I
please.
have to read from the very beginning, July from here. Huh?
Yeah,
Okay, okay, okay.
my screen is visible, right?
Yes, yes, it's visible. July, buy some happiness, money. Indulge in a modest splurge, buy needful things, spend out, give something up. The relationship between money and happiness was one of the most interesting, most complicated, and most sensitive questions in my study of happiness. People, including the experts, seemed very confused. As I did my research, Gertrude Stein's observation frequently floated through my mind. Everyone has to make up their mind if money is money or money is not money. And sooner or later, they always do decide that money is money. Money satisfies basic material needs. It is a means and an end. It is a way to keep score, win security, exercise generosity, and earn recognition. It can foster mastery or dilettantism. It symbolizes status and success. It buys time which can be spent on aimless drifting or purposeful action. It creates power in relationship and in the world. It often stands for the things that we feel are lacking. If only we had the money, we would be adventurous or thin or cultured or respected or generous. Before I could figure out my resolutions for the month, I had to clarify my thinking about money. I was skeptical of much of what I read, in particular I kept seeing the argument money can't buy happiness, but it certainly seemed that people appear fairly well convinced about the significance of money to their happiness. Money is not without its benefits, and the opposite case, though frequently made, has never proved widely persuasive. And in fact, study shows that people in wealthier countries do report being happier than people in poorer countries. And within a particular country, people with more money do tend to be happier than those with less. Also, as countries become richer, their citizens become less focused on physical and economic security and more concerned with goals such as happiness and self realization. Prosperity allows us to turn our attention to more transcendent matters, to yearn for lives not just of material comfort, but of meaning, balance, and joy. Within the United States, according to a 2006 Pew Research Center study, 49% of people with an annual family income of more than it is 1 lakh dollar said they were very happy, in contrast to 20% of those with an annual family income of less than $30,000. And the percentages of reported happiness increased as income rose. 25% for those earning under $30,000, 33% for $30,000 to under $75,000, 38% for 75,000 dollars to under 1 lakh thousand dollars, and 49% for more than 1 lakh thousand dollars. Now, it is also true that there may be some reverse correlation. Happy people become rich faster because they are more appealing to other people and their happiness helps them succeed. Also, it turns out that while the absolute level of wealth matters, relative ranking matters as well. One important way that people evaluate their circumstances is to compare themselves with the people around them and with their own previous experiences. For instance, people measure themselves against their age peers, and making more money than others in their age group tends to make people happier. Along the same lines, research shows that people who live in a neighborhood with richer people tends to be less happy than those in a neighborhood where their neighbors make about as much money as they do. A study of workers in various industries showed that their job satisfaction was less tied to their salaries than to how their salaries compared to their co-worker salaries. People understand the significance of this principle. In one study, uh, in one study, a majority of people chose to earn $50,000, where others earned $25,000, rather than earn $1 lakh, where others earned $2,50,000. My mother grew up feeling quite well to do in my parents' little hometown of North Platte, Nebraska, because her father had a highly coveted union job as an engineer on the Union Pacific Railroad. By contrast, a friend told me that he had felt poor growing up in New York City because he lived on Fifth Avenue above 96th Street, the less fashionable section of a very fashionable street. The proponents of the money can't buy happiness argument point to studies showing that people in the United States don't rate their quality of life much more highly than do people living in poverty in Calcutta. even though, of course, they live in vastly more comfortable circumstances. Most people the world over rate themselves as mildly happy. It is admirable that people can find happiness in circumstances of poverty as well as in circumstances of plenty. That is the resilience of a human spirit. But I don't think that a particular individual would be indifferent to the disparities between the streets of Calcutta and the ranch houses of Atlanta. The fact is, people are not made deliriously happy by the luxuries of salt and cinnamon, once so precious, or electricity, or air conditioning, or cell phones or the internet, because they come to accept these once luxury goods as part of ordinary existence. That does not mean, however, that because people have learned to take clean water for granted, it no longer matters to their quality of life. Indeed, if that were true, would it mean that it would be pointless to bother to try to improve the material circumstances of those folks in Calcutta? But as I went deeper into the mystery of money, I was pulled toward research and analysis suitable for an entirely different book, away from my most pressing interest. Sure, I wanted to go off the path to a point, and maybe one day I would devote an entire book to the topic, but for the moment, I didn't have to solve the enigma of money. I just needed to figure out how happiness and money fit together. So, was I arguing that money can buy happiness? The answer no. That was clear. Money alone can't buy happiness. But as a follow up, I asked myself, can money help buy happiness? The answer yes. Used wisely, it can. Whether rich or poor, people make choices about how they spend money, and those choices can boost happiness or undermine it. It is a mistake to assume that money will affect everyone the same way. No statistical average could say how a particular individual would be affected by money, depending on that individual's circumstances and temperament. After a lot of thinking, I identified three factors that shape the significance of money to individuals. It depends on what kind of person you are. Money has a different value to different people. You might love to collect modern art, or you might love to rent old movies. You might have six children and ailing, dependent parents, or you might have no children and robust parents. You might love to travel, or you might prefer to putter around the house. You might care about eating organic, or you might be satisfied with the cheapest choices at the grocery store. Next is, it depends on how you spend money. Some purchases are more likely to contribute to your happiness than others. You might buy cocaine, or you might buy a dog. You might splurge on a big screen TV, or you might splurge on a new bike. Next is, it depends on how much money you have relative to the people around you and relative to your own experience, as one person's fortune is another person's misfortune. Developing and applying a three factor test brought back pleasant memories of being a law student, and it was a helpful framework, but it was complex. I wanted a more cogent way to convey the relationship between money and happiness. And as I was mulling this over, one afternoon I picked up Eleanor the Wrong Way as I leaned over her crib. And the next morning, I woke up with agonizing back pain. For almost a month, I could not sit for long. I found it hard to type. I had trouble sleeping. And of course, I could not stop picking up Illinois, so I kept re aggravating the injury. You should see, you should go see my physical therapist, urged my father in law, who had suffered from back problems for years. There is a lot they can do. I am sure it will get better on its own. I kept insisting. One night, as I struggled to turn over in bed, I thought, ask for help. Bob says that physical therapy works. Why am I resisting? I called Bob at work, got the information, made an appointment at the physical therapist's office, and 2 visits later, I was 100% better. It felt like a miracle. And one day, after my pain was gone, I took my health for granted once again, and I had the epiphany of the back spasm. Money does not buy happiness the way good health does not buy happiness. When money or health is a problem, you think of little else. When it is not a problem, you don't think much about it. Both money and health contribute to happiness, mostly in the negative. The lack of them brings much more unhappiness than possessing them brings happiness. Being healthy does not guarantee happiness. Lots of healthy people are very unhappy. Many of them squander their health or take it for granted. In fact, some people might even be better off with some physical limitation that would prevent them from making destructive choices. I once went on vacation with a group that included the most wild and reckless guy I had ever met, and I was quite relieved when he broke his foot during an early escapade because the mishap prevented him from getting up to much more mischief. Ditto money. But the fact that good health doesn't guarantee happiness doesn't mean that good health does not matter to happiness. Similarly, money used wisely, each can contribute greatly to happiness. The first splendid truth holds that to think about happiness, we should think about feeling good, feeling bad, feeling right in an atmosphere of growth. Money is most important for happiness in the feeling bad category. People's biggest worries include financial anxiety, health concerns, job insecurity, and having to do tiring and boring chores. Spent correctly, money can go a long way to solving these problems. I was extremely fortunate to be in a position where money was not a source of feeling bad. We had plenty of money to do what we wanted, even though to feel secure, the toughest the most precious thing for money to buy. I resolved to do a better job of spending money in ways that could boost my happiness by supporting the other three elements of happiness. Yes, if anybody wants, please, you may take it over.
Anyone wants to read? Yes. Okay, I can. Indulge in a modest splurge. I didn't spend enough time thinking about how money could buy me happiness. I've always had a vague sense that spending money was self indulgent and that I should avoid spending money whenever possible. I once spent 6 very satisfying months living in San Francisco on $5 a day, except when I had to use the laundromat. Now, however, I decided to find ways to spend to further my happiness goals. Studies show that people's basic psychological needs include the need to feel secure, to feel good at what they do, to be loved, to feel connected to others, and to have a strong sense of control. Money doesn't automatically feel these requirements, but it sure can help. People at every level of income can choose to direct their spending in ways that take them closer to happiness or not. I wanted to spend money to stay in closer contact with my family and friends, to promote my energy and health, to create a more serene environment in my apartment, to work more efficiently, to eliminate sources of boredom, irritation, and marital conflict, to support causes and that I thought important, and to have experiences that would enlarge me. So, category by category, I looked for ways to spend money to support my happiness goals within reason, of course. For health and energy, in January, I already found a way to spend money to get better exercise. My strength training workouts were expensive, but I was happy to know that I was doing something important for my long term health. I also started spending more for food when I had to grab lunch outside our apartment. I'd always congratulated myself when I ducked into a deli to buy a bagel because it was such a cheap and quick meal, but I stopped that. Instead, I gave myself a mental gold star for getting a big salad or soup and fruit, even though those choices were much more expensive. For relationships, I'd give a planned party for my sister's wedding. I would be a major expenditure it would be a major expenditure, but also a major source of happiness. My relationship with my sister and now with her fiance were among the most important in my life. But the fact that they lived in Los Angeles was a challenge. Hosting a party would be a way to make my own contribution to the wedding weekend. For work, I bought some pens. Normally, I used makeshift pens, the kind of unsatisfactory implements that somehow materialized in my bag or in a drawer. But one day, when I was standing in line to buy envelopes, I caught sight of a box of my favorite kind of pen, the Deluxe Uniball Micro. 2.99 for one pen, I thought. That's ridiculous, but after a fairly lengthy internal debate, I bought four. It's such a joy to write with a good pen instead of making do with an under inked pharmaceutical promotional pen picked up from a doctor's office. My new pens weren't cheap, but when I think of all the time I spent using pens and how much I appreciate a good pen, I realize it was money well spent. Finely made tools make work a pleasure. For others, I wrote a check to the New York Public Library's library Cube Cups program. I was already donating my time and energy to helping form this group, which supports the children's room in library branches. Time and energy helped the library. Money was also useful. For happy memories, I bought those file boxes in April, an excellent modest splurge. Also, I've never forgotten an old friend's observation. One of my regrets about my children's childhoods is that I didn't have more professional photographs taken. As luck would have it, I know a terrific photographer. I arranged to have pictures taken of our children, and I was thrilled with the results. These photographs were far better than any snapshot I could take, and I bought several for us and for the grandparents too. Remembering happy times gives a big boost to happiness, and looking at photographs of happy times helps make those memories more vivid. The money I spent on the photographs will strengthen family bonds, enhance happy memories, and capture fleeting moments of childhood. That's a pretty good return on the happiness investment. I pushed a friend to buy some happiness when I stopped by her apartment to admire her new baby. In keeping with my June resolution to show up, one thing is really bothering me, she said. As a child, I was close to my grandparents, but my in laws, who live nearby, aren't very interested in the baby. They already have seven grandchildren. My mother would love to see the baby all the time, but she lives in Cleveland and only comes to New York once a year. Well, I suggested, at least until your son is in school, why don't you go to Cleveland every few months? She laughed. That's way too expensive. It's a lot of money, but it's important to you. Could you afford it? I knew she could. Well, yes, I guess. she admitted. But it would be such a hassle to fly with the baby. You could tell your mother you'll buy her plane tickets if she'll come to New York more often. Would she come? I bet she would. My friend said. This solution shows both the importance of thinking about how money can buy happiness and also the importance of my eighth commandment. Identify the problem. What was the problem? Finding a way for grandmother and grandson to spend time together. Money spent wisely can support happiness goals of strengthening relationships, promoting health, having fun, and all the rest. At the time, the emotions generated by sheer buying, by acquisition, are also powerful. Happiness theory suggests that if I move to a new apartment or buy a new pair of boots, I'll soon become accustomed to my new possession and be no happier than I was before. Nevertheless, many people make purchases for the fleeting jolt of happiness that they get from the very act of gain. Now you might say that's not true happiness. True happiness comes from doing good for others, being with friends and family, finding flow, meditating, and so on. But when I look around, I certainly see many people who look the act happy as they do their buying. The fact that the happiness boost that hits at the cash register isn't particularly admirable doesn't mean that it's not real or that it doesn't shape people's behavior. Research and everyday experience show that receiving an unexpected present or being surprised by a windfall gives people a real boost. In one study, in fact, when researchers wanted to induce a good mood in their subjects to study the effects, the way they accomplished this good mood was to arrange for those subjects to find coins in a telephone booth or to be given bags of chocolates. For some people, the rush of happiness that accompanies gain is so seductive that they spend more money than they can afford and are hit by remorse and anxiety once they get their bags home. The quick fix of happiness turns into a longer lasting unhappiness. Anyone wants to read from here?
Has anyone put the name?
I can read if you want.
Yeah, Manisa, please. Thank
Yeah. The happiness that people get from buying stuff isn't attributable only to consumerist indulgence. Any kind of gain creates at least a momentary atmosphere of growth, and there are a lot of reasons why people love to make a purchase, to keep their home in good repair, attractive, and well stocked, to provide for loved ones or strangers, to master something new, such as the latest gadget, to possess an admired object, to teach their children, to live as their peers live, to live differently from their peers, to beautifully to beautify themselves, to maintain a collection, to keep up with fashion, to defy fashion, to support a hobby or expertise, to benefit others, to justify the enjoyment of shopping as an activity, to offer and return hospitality, to give gifts and support, to win or maintain status, to establish dominance and control, to express personality, to celebrate, to maintain traditions, to break traditions, to make life more convenient, healthier, or safer, to make life more challenging, adventurous, or risky. I myself rarely feel cash register happiness. Quite the opposite. I am usually hit by buyer's remorse when I spend, a feeling that I call shop shock. Perhaps that's why I really notice other people's enthusiasm. Nevertheless, even for me, indulging in a modest splurge could bring a lot of happiness if I made my purchases wisely. When I posted on my blog about my resolution to indulge in a modest splurge, and people posted examples of their own modest splurges, I was struck by the extraordinary variety in people's tastes. For years, I had cheap, crappy cutlery in my kitchen, but last year I spent out on a few good knives. I paid $200 for three knives, a Santoku paring knife and a bread knife, and they were so worth the money, will last me forever. I hate to say it, but I hired a personal organizer to deal with the basement. There was an ad on the bulletin board in the grocery store.
My wife had been after me since we moved to deal with the junk down there, which was 3 years ago. I have never been so happy to write a check in my life. It wasn't even that expensive, especially because we ended up selling some stuff we had in storage in the basement. My Christmas present to myself this year was a few pillows. I knew I didn't like mine, but the chain reaction of how they affect my comfort level, hours and quality of sleep, my mood the next day, my productivity in work was pretty enlightening. I got a dog. Having a pet turned out to be more expensive than I expected. Food, shots, paying a neighbor to take care of her when I travel, and so forth. But it has also been a lot more fun than I expected. I live by myself, and having a dog has brought me a huge amount of happiness. For that matter, one of my favorite modest splurges was something that wouldn't appeal to most people. But for me, meant getting my hands on something I had coveted for years. I called Books of Wonder, a famous children's bookstore in Manhattan, and ordered the Wizard's Super Special, the complete set of the 15 Oz books by L. Frank Baum. 2 weeks later, I got a huge thrill when I opened the large box. The hardback set had a unified design with matching spines, gorgeous covers, and the original color illustrations. Now, positive psychologists might argue that I would adapt to my purchase. Soon I would be accustomed, accustomed to owning these books. They would sit on a shelf and gather dust, and I would be no better off than I was before. I disagree, because I have a real passion for children's literature. I knew these books would give me a boost every time I saw them. After all, I keep a big stack of the old, beat up cricket magazines I had as a child, and just seeing them on the shelf makes me happy. As always, the secret was to be Gretchen and to choose wisely. What makes me happy is to spend money on the things I value, and it takes self knowledge and discipline to discover what I really want instead of parroting the desires of other people. One of the purchases that father happiest made my father happiest was a pinball machine. He would play hours of pinball as a boy, and one of his childhood dreams was to have his own, so he could play whenever he wanted for free. This isn't a purchase that would have made everyone happy, but it made him extremely happy. While I was thinking hard about the relationship between money and happiness, I struck up a conversation with a fellow guest at a bridal shower. I told her that I was trying to figure out ways to buy some happiness. As I explained the issue, it began to dawn on me dimly that I might be becoming a happiness bore. She became quite indignant at my suggestion. That's so wrong, she said. Money can't buy happiness. You don't think so? I'm the perfect example. I don't have much money. A few years back, I took my savings and bought a horse. My mother and everyone told me I was crazy, but that horse makes me incredibly happy, even though I end up spending all my extra money on him. But I said, confused, money did make you happy then. It makes you so happy to have a horse. But I don't have any money, she answered. I spent it all. Right, because you used it to buy a horse. She shook her head and gave up on me. In some cases, though, when I tried to buy some happiness, it didn't work. I would call this the expensive gym membership effect. After the futile tendency to pay a lot for a gym membership with the thought, gosh, this cost me so much, I'll feel like I have to go to the gym. I see the expensive gym membership effect when I pay money for something as a way to encourage myself to make time for something fun. For example, I went to 3 stores to hunt down the combination glue, sealer, finish, mod podge because I wanted to experiment with decoupage. I really want to do it, but I bought the that mod podge ages ago and I have never used it. I want to take time for creative projects, but merely spending money on an art supply won't make it a priority. I have to decide to make time, and apparently I haven't. Using Mod Podge can be another resolution for happiness project too. Along the same lines, a workaholic friend of mine bought a fancy new tennis racket because he wants to play more tennis, but he still hasn't used it. The tennis racket is an expression of his desire to change something in his life, but just making a purchase won't accomplish that. He should have concentrated on fixing his calendar, not on finding the right racket. Buy some happiness, of course, has its limits. I knew I would better not look the effects of the hedonic treadmill, which quickly transforms delightful luxuries into dull necessities. Indulging in a modest splurge would give me a happiness jolt only if I did it rarely. Take room service. Until my honeymoon, I would never had room service in my life, and it was a thrill. But if I traveled for business and got room service frequently, it wouldn't be a treat anymore because money permits a constant stream of luxuries and indulgence. It can take away their savor, and by permitting instant gratification, money shortcuts the happiness of anticipation. Scrimping, saving, imagining, planning, hoping, these stages enlarge the happiness we feel. Even a modest pleasure can be a luxury if it's scarce enough, ordering coffee at a restaurant, buying a book, or watching TV, which is why deprivation is one of the most effective, although unenjoyable, cures for the hedonic treadmill. A friend told me that when she lived in Russia in the 1990s, the hot water would periodically stop working for weeks at a time. She said that very few experiences in her life have matched the happiness she felt on days when the hot water started working again. But now that she's back in the United States, where her hot water has never failed, she never thinks about it. The hedonic treadmill means that spending often isn't a satisfying path to happiness, but nevertheless, money can help. My father still talks about the day he realized that he can afford to pay someone to mow the lawn. Some of the best things in life aren't free. Another way to think about money's effect is in terms of the first splendid truth as part of the atmosphere of growth that's so important to happiness. We need an atmosphere of spiritual growth, and as much as some people deny it, material growth is also very satisfying. We are very sensitive to change. We measure our present against our past, and we are made happy when we see change for the better. In some study, people were asked whether they would rather have a job that paid $30,000 in a year one, $40,000 in year two, and $50,000 in year three, or a job that paid $60,000, then $50,000, then $40,000. In general, people prefer the first option with raises despite the fact that at the end of the 3 years they would have earned only $1,20,000 instead of $1,50,000. The decision might seem rational, but in fact, the people who chose the first option understood the importance of growth to happiness. People are very sensitive to relative changes in their conditions, for better or worse. A sense of growth is so important to happiness that it's often preferable to be progressing to the summit rather than to be at the summit. Neither a scientist nor a philosopher, but a novelist, Lisa Grunwald, came up with the most brilliant summation of this happiness principle. Best is good, better is best. One challenge of parenthood that I hadn't tackled in April, though perhaps I should have, was setting limits on buying treats for my children. For example, as a surprise, I bought Eliza a big book of optical illusions. As I expected, she loved the book, pored over it, looked at it with her friends, kept it out on her bedside table. It was so pleased I was so pleased with myself for choosing it for her. One day, not long after, I was in a drugstore that had a rack of cheap children's books. I spotted a book of optical illusions and almost bought it for Eliza. She would enjoy the other book so much. Then she had enjoyed the other book so much. Then I stopped myself. She already had a book with 300 illusions. This book probably didn't have much new. But even beyond that, I wondered if having two books of optical illusions might in fact dim Eliza's pleasure in the first book. It wouldn't seem as magical and definitive. The head of Eliza's school told a story about a 4-year-old who had a blue toy car he loved. He took it everywhere, played with it constantly. Then, when his grandmother came to visit, she bought him 10 toy cars and he stopped playing with the cars altogether. Why don't you play with your cars? She asked. You loved your blue car so much. I can't love lots of cars, he answered. It's easy to make the mistake of thinking that if you have something you love or think there is something you want, you'll be happier with more. Buy needful things. When I began to pay attention to people's relationship to money, I recognized two different approaches to buying: underbuying and overbuying. I am an underbuyer. As an underbuyer, I delay making purchases or buy as little as possible to buy saline solution, which I use twice a day. I buy saline solution which I use twice a day, one little bottle at a time. I scramble to buy items like a winter coat or a bathing suit after the point at which I need them. I'm suspicious of buying things with very specific uses: suit bags, hand cream, hair conditioner, rain boots, Kleenex. Why not just use toilet paper to blow your nose? I often consider buying an item, then decide I will get this some other time. Or maybe we don't really need this. As an underbuyer, I often feel stressed because I don't have the things I need. I make a lot of late night runs to the drugstore. I'm surrounded with things that are shabby, don't really work, or aren't exactly suitable. I gaze in wonder at the antics of my overbuyer friends. Overbuyers often lay in huge supplies of slow use items like shampoo or cough medicine. They buy things like tools or high tech gadgets with the thought this will probably come in handy someday. They make a lot of purchases before they go on a trip or celebrate a holiday. They throw things away They throw things away, milk, medicine, even cans of soup, because they have hit their expiration date. They buy items with the thought, this will make a great gift, without having a recipient in mind. Like me, overbuyers feel stressed. They are oppressed by the number of errands they feel obliged to do and by the clutter and waste often created by their overbuying. After I posted about these two approaches, many underbuyers and overbuyers posted comments. People had no trouble recognizing themselves in my descriptions. I tend to be an overbuyer because underbuying makes me feel stressed and disorganized. I like it when my girls have more than enough pairs of tights, when we have 2 weeks supply of paper towels on hand, when I have full bottle of shampoo at the ready should I run out. Running out of tissues or milks or diapers makes me feel like a poor excuse for a mother. I love that feeling of coming home from Costco and putting everything away and feeling fully stocked. I'm an underbuyer, and those 15-year-old LL Bean pajamas were just fine until the day all the elastic fell out all at once. I'm a huge underbuyer and used to feel very proud of myself because of it. That was until I realized it was more of an obsession than a choice. I rarely had backup supplies like toothpaste or soap. I usually leave buying the backups until just hours before I am about to run out. I used to be a performer, so I think that's where I got my frugal training. But now it's hard to break this pattern. However, I'm happy to say that I recently let myself buy 6 rolls of paper towels instead of the 2 pack I usually get, and also 3 new face clothes. And all of a sudden, I felt incredibly wealthy. I was surprised at how giddy I became with such simple things. I knew that I would be happier if I made a mindful effort to thwart my underbuying impulse and instead worked to buy what I needed. For instance, I ended my just in time policy for restocking toilet paper. One of my secrets of adulthood is keep a roll of toilet paper tucked away someplace so we never actually ran out, but we teetered on the dreary brink. I mentioned this problem to Jamie. We are like Walmart, he said. We keep all our capital working for us instead of sitting on a lot of inventory. Well, I said, now we are going to invest in some redundant supply. Moderation is pleasant to the wise, but toilet paper was something I wanted to keep on hand. This kind of little annoyance puts a surprisingly big drag on happiness. As Samuel Johnson remarked, to live in perpetual want of little things is a state, not indeed of torture, but of constant vexation. Another thing I really needed was white t shirts because I wear them practically every day. I enjoy shopping only when I am with my mother. So I waited to buy my t shirts until my mother was visiting from Kansas City. I wanted t shirts that were soft, stretchy, not too thin, V necked and long sleeved, and to me, tracking down and buying such shirts seemed like an overwhelming challenge. My mother was undaunted. We will go to Bloomingdale's, she decided. Though I felt dazed, the minute I entered the store, my mother walked purposefully from one area to the next. As she began her systematic inspection, I trailed along behind her and carried the shirts she had pulled out. After she had considered every white shirt on the floor, I tried on conservative estimate 20 shirts. I bought it. My mother had joined with zeal my quest for the perfect white t-shirt, but when she saw the stack of monochrome cotton at the cash register, she asked, "Are you sure you don't want any other colors or style? This is a lot of white shirts." Well, I hesitated. Did I really want this many white shirts? Then I remembered a study showing that people think like they like variety more than they do. When asked to pick a menu of snacks for the upcoming weeks, they picked a variety, but if they chose week to week what to eat, they picked their favorite snack over and over. In the store, it seemed like a good idea to have a variety of colors, but I knew from experience that when I stood in front of my closet, I always wanted to pull out the same things: white v neck t shirt, black yoga pants or jeans, and running shoes. Buy needful things. Yes, just want white, I said firmly. Inspired by my shirt success, I replaced my leaky blender. I bought a personalized return address stamp. I had realized that the paradoxical consequence of being an underbuyer was that I had to shop more often, while buying extras meant fewer trips to the cash register. I bought batteries, band aids, light bulbs, diapers, things I knew we would need eventually. I finally ordered business cards, which I had been putting off for years. I was inspired when, at a meeting, someone handed me the best looking business card I'd ever seen. I got all the information, so could order a copycat version for myself. My decision making process for ordering a business card showed me that not only was I an underbuyer, I was also a satisficer as opposed to a maximizer. Satisficers, yes, satisficers are those who make a decision or take action once their criteria are met. That doesn't mean they will settle for mediocrity. The criteria can be very high, but as soon as they find the hotel, the pasta sauce, or the business card that has the qualities they want, they are satisfied. Maximizers want to make the optimal decision. Even if they see a bicycle or a backpack that meets their requirement, they can't make a decision until after they have examined every option so they can make the best possible choice. Studies suggest that satisficers tend to be happier than maximizers. Maximizers spend a lot more time and energy to reach a decision, and they are often anxious about whether they did, in fact, make the best choice. As a shopper, my mother is a good example of what I would call a happy limited maximizer. In certain distinct categories, she is a maximizer and she loves the very process of investigating every possibility. Now that Eliza and Eleanor were going to be the flower girls in my sister's wedding, I knew my mother would love nothing more than to examine every possible dress just for the fun of it. But too often, maximizers find the research process exhausting. You can't let themselves settle for anything but the best. The difference between the two approaches may be one reason some people find a big city like New York disheartening. If you are a maximizer in New York City, you could spend months surveying your options for bedroom furniture or even wooden hangers. In Kansas City, even the most zealous maximizer can size up the available options pretty quickly. Most people are a mix of both in most or in almost every category. I was a satisficer, and in fact, I often felt guilty about not doing my research before making decisions. In law school, one friend interviewed with 50 law firms before she decided where she wanted to go as a summer associate. I think I interviewed with six and ended up at the same firm. Once I learned to call myself a satisficer, I felt more satisfied with my approach to decision making instead of feeling lazy and unconscientious. I could call myself prudent. A great example of reframing. Spend out.
Yeah,
I
I
tend
just asked Deepa, are we just reading today? It's already 7:56. Are we going for next 5 minutes? Deepa, can you just say something? You're on mute, I guess. Sorry.
Yeah. I think a lot more is that to read. So maybe we can open up for discussion now. It's almost 8. Am I audible?
We can even continue reading if that's okay with everyone. I'm just asking you.
Yeah, yeah. No, there is a lot to read. We might not be able to complete it today.
Okay, okay. Got it.
So
Because
tomorrow maybe we will have little less to read, but we can have more discussion tomorrow. Where did
yeah,
we
because
stop?
the time is not sufficient for discussion also, no? Like that's why. Yeah.
Spend out. Yeah,
maybe you can finish spend out then.
yeah.
Is
We
it
can do
small
that.
talk? Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. But if anyone, no one wants to say something, na, like from what we read, we will only discuss tomorrow then. No discussion today. Just
Yeah, that
asking.
is also a good idea. That's also a good idea.
Okay, okay, yeah, that's okay. But I hope, yeah, everyone please do join tomorrow to finish this and discuss. Yeah, Manisha, leave on. Sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to check.
Yeah, yeah. Even I was just thinking. Yeah.
Spend out.
Oh, 1 second. Again, it has gone.
I tend to cling to things, to stuff, to ideas. I reuse razor blades until they are dull. I keep my toothbrushes until they are yellowed and frayed. There is a preppy wabi sabi to soft, uh, faded khakis and cotton shirts, but it's not nice to be surrounded by things that are worn out or stained or used up. I often found myself saving things even when it made no sense, like those white t shirts I bought. I had surmounted the challenge of buying them, then came the challenge of wearing them. When I took them out of the shopping bag and laid them on my shelf, perfectly folded by the sales clerk as I had never learned to do, I could feel myself wanting to save them in their pristine glory. But not wearing clothes is as wasteful as throwing them away. As part of my happiness project, I wanted to stop hoarding to trust in abundance so that I could use things up, give things away, throw things away. Not only that, I wanted to stop worrying so much about keeping score and profit and loss. I wanted to spend out. A few years ago, my sister gave me a box of beautiful stationery for my birthday. I loved it, but I had never used it. When I was mailing some photos to the grandparents, I hesitated to use the new stationery because I was saving it. But to what better use could it be put? Of course, I should use those notes spent out. I looked through my apartment for ways to spend out. The toughest choices I made concerned things that sort of worked. The camera that had lost its zoom function, the label maker that didn't print properly. I hate waste, but it would probably have cost me as much money and far more time to repair these items as to replace them. And using them in their crippled states weighed me down. I replaced them. My goal wasn't limited to my treatment of my possessions. It also involved my ideas. For example, when I thought of a great subject for a blog post, I often found myself thinking that's a good idea, save it for another day. Why? Why delay? I needed to trust that there would be more and that I would have great ideas in the future and so should use my best stuff now. Pouring out ideas is better for creativity than doing them out by the teaspoon. Spending out also meant being rigidly efficient. The other night, Jamie and I rented Bug, an extraordinary movie all about the nature of love and happiness. I was tempted to watch a few of my favorite scenes again after we saw it the first time, but I decided that would be a waste of time. Then I remembered my resolution, which included spending of my time. After all, I know that sometimes the things I do when I am wasting time turn out to be quite worthwhile. I went to scene selection to rewatch the scene at the church social. The most important meaning of spend out, however, is not to be a scorekeeper, not to stint on love and generosity. This was related to my February resolution. Don't expect praise or appreciation. I wanted to stop constantly demanding praise or insisting on getting paid back. Saint Therese of Lisieux wrote, when one loves, one does not calculate. I am a big calculator, always looking for a return, especially with Jamie. I gave Eleanor a bath last night. So you. I let you take a nap. So you. I had to make the plane reservation. So you. No, spend out. Don't think about the return. It is by spending oneself, the actress Sarah Bernhardt remarked, that one becomes rich. What's more, one interviewing study showed that Sarah Bernhardt's pronouncement is literally true. People who give money to charity end up wealthier than those who don't give to charity. After doing complex number crunching to control for different variables, a researcher concluded that charitable giving isn't just correlated with higher income, it actually causes higher income. Some explanation for this surprising effect include the brain stimulation caused by charitable activity and also the fact that those are seen behaving charitably are likely to be elevated to leadership positions. It's certainly true in my household that spending out creates a wealth of love and tenderness, while calculation and scorekeeping build resentment. To keep this moment, yet elusive resolution uppermost in my mind, I maintained a relic. In one of my last visits to my grandmother before she died, I picked up the Mycen perfume that had been sitting on her bureau for as long as I could remember. The bottle was still in its box, and when I opened it, I saw that it was still full to the top. I didn't ask her about it, but I'm sure someone many years ago gave her the bottle of perfume and she was saving it. For what? After she died, I took the box home with me and I keep it in my office to remind me to spend out. I posted on my blog about the bottle of perfume and several readers responded with their own experiences of spending out. Your story reminds me of some pretty linen napkins that I found in my mother's house. After she died, I lived in that house for a long time and never even saw those napkins. She was apparently saving them. For what? I have no idea. But she never did get to use them. Now they are mine, and I'm sure as heck gonna use them the next time I have someone over for dinner. Which comes to think of it, it's tomorrow night. Life is too short to save your good china or your good lingerie or your good anything for later because truly later may never come. I can't believe that there is someone else out there that does this too. I have struggled with this for years. I realized it was contributing to my mental wellness. I thought I should be keeping some of my new better stuff just in case of so pessimistic here. Bad days ahead. Sadly, I found that I have even pushed it over on my own daughter. That is, don't use up all the battery power in your toys. I think that's when I realized it. Now I am on the track of using it all up today. Cause who knows about tomorrow? I learned this lesson painfully. When I was a child, my grandparents gave me a very elaborate box of art supplies for Hanukkah. Really beautiful paints, brushes, chalks, papers, etc. I kept saving it, planning to use it only once I was a better artist because I didn't want to waste any of these treasures. As a kid, you really do see yourself getting more skillful, so this wasn't totally crazy. One day I happened to look for the box and couldn't find it. My mother said, "Oh, you never touched that art set." So I figured you weren't interested. She had taken it to the thrift shop. I was crushed, but I have never forgotten it. Sometimes later becomes never.
Shall we stop here?
Yeah.
Yeah, the time is also up. It is the last topic. We will be having enough time tomorrow to discuss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do we share some insights? I just have two observations to make. And maybe the discussion and the final reading of this chapter, shall we take it up tomorrow? Or we have time for a good discussion?
We are out of time, but we can extend for like five. You decide, like it's your call now,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we'll go with the collective calling, like whatever everyone is okay with.
yeah. So we have 8 people today. What do you all say? Pallavi, Samina,
I think Deepa, you
Sunita.
can go ahead. If there is anything people have to add, they will add. Just in favor of time and uh, in just to take benefit of whatever we have learned today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. In that case, I'll just have basic two observations there. Usually, in all the chapters, she'll give quotations of various writers, various books. That is something I noticed that she hasn't done. Only in the end, she referred to one movie, and she has written about people who have made comments in her blog. Those are the other references from her experience she has mentioned. That was one standout thing. Throughout, she has written only her experience with money and how she relates to wealth and happiness is what she's talking about. Then another thing which I found it was money is important, but it is not exactly related to happiness. It cannot buy happiness as such. If we are going to store away our happiness bought projects or certain things away for some other day, for a special day, you're not going to be happy. When you buy it, you might feel happy. When you receive some special gifts, we might feel happy. But if we are going to store it away somewhere, it is not going to give us happiness. It just gives us that happiness that I possess it, but not the happiness of using it. So I think it's most common, I guess, world over, to store things, to hoard things, and keep it for a special day. And each time a special day turns up, we think about enjoying the day without using the product which we kept to enjoy on that special day. It rarely happens we pull out that a jewelry or a saree or a special tablecloth or a special crockery to use on a special day. We just keep it away and we forget about it. So yeah, we should enjoy that. Every day is a special day. Every moment is a special day. To keep things locked up, toys or a special dress or any such thing. Every day is special, so we should learn to enjoy that day. And my experience tells me that money oils the wheels of life. As such, it can't be happiness. It can lead us to some sort of joy. It can remove the creakiness from our life. But on the whole, it is not going to produce any happiness. Uh, so, one thing which again from my travels, I've noticed that people with the limited means, with limited resources, with limited stuff in their home are much more happier than people who possess a lot of things. Yeah, it might give them the comfort and luxury, but comfort and luxury is not exactly happiness. When we went to Arunachal Pradesh is actually a tribal place. Multiple tribal people live there, and they are actually happy without electricity, without a mobile phone. They're hardworking people, especially being a matrilineal society. Girls always have a smiling face, although they are taking our suitcases and putting it in our rooms and then changing it. If we don't not happy with the room, they take it out and put it back in some other room. They are always having a smile and a happy face, which is robust with good health. And the boys are also fine with that. They are working in the kitchens, they are behind the scenes, and they are happy with that because they are smiling, and there is no resentment, there is no chaos, there is no argument. So when life is without chaos, without argument, without that stress and pressure, and we are able to wake up in the morning and go to sleep and have a restful sleep, wake up rejuvenated, for me, that constitutes happiness. And that I found in plenty in Arunachal Pradesh among the tribal people, the natives of the land. When we wore their tribal clothes, you can wear their clothes and take pictures. So that girl, she was just showing us different costumes, like this we wear for the wedding, this we wear for our festivals, for ceremonies. So the most fascinating thing was, she said, our ceremonies, our celebrations are vastly different than you people. So I was just wondered, what do you mean by us? Like, we all celebrate the same way, no? Invite our friends, family, be with our loved ones, and do whatever rituals we have. We do that. That's it, no? She said, yeah, but you have those big decorations, costly clothes, lots of people, huge menu. You party, you dance, you have loud music, and we don't do that way. I realize that comparison is what makes people, happy, envious, or feel, we are not doing as much as others. The comparison is what brings in dissatisfaction. Comparison brings in envy, jealousy, and that pours water on our happiness. It dampens our happiness. If that girl hadn't known that other people celebrate in a different way, she would have been happy in her own way. But the comparison sort of, brought down many notches of our happiness. And when I saw that, and when I realized that people who splurge a lot of money on their celebrations, at the end of the day, even they are not happy. There are many marriages which break up. Many celebrations don't have a happy ending because things didn't turn out the way it should have been. The decoration here, instead of this flower, that flower should have been. There's a lot of dissatisfaction. So somewhere being very materialistic, comparing our joy and our happiness with someone else can bring down what we actually crave for. We forget our joy and happiness, what we actually crave for. So it's important that we find our own idea, a sense of happiness, not through buying something, owning something, or doing something in comparison to someone else. I have a Samsung phone, I'm happy with that. I'll become unhappy not because my Samsung phone is not functioning to its optimum level. I might find myself unhappy when I see someone having that iPhone or something more costly or expensive. So it is the envy, it is the jealousy, it's a comparison which can belittle me. I belittle myself. So as long as I see that what I own, what I possess, and what I'm using it for my joy and my happiness, I buy things, I splurge things only based on what I need, not based on what my society, my community, my family has. Because it's beneath, it's lower, then that can give me a lot of dissatisfaction. So as long as I'm aware of comparison, I'm happy. I'll be in my happy zone. So buying something just because someone else has it is not the way. What we need, what is comfortable for us, is more good. So that is my interpretation of today's reading. If anyone has anything more to add, please go ahead. Thank you. Yeah, if anyone has any other experience with money spending and buying things and using it or not using it, you can share your personal experiences. Like certain things, we keep it in the wardrobe in our safe places, and we treasure it for a long time and we don't use it. Here she mentions about the pen, the stationery. So if anyone has similar experience, please go ahead and share.
So I personally felt that I love the terms that the author has given us, like just to reflect upon, like maximizers, satisfiers, and so many others. So I love those. So that helps us identify very beautifully. Myself, I feel I'm more of a maximizer, but in some places, as she also mentioned, that I do feel I'm a satisfier too. So it depends. And I do have this tendency of hoarding things, but when I see myself compared to my parents, I feel like similar to her mom and things. I feel these old people, like generations, the earlier generations, they do have more of this tendency of hoarding things and not using them. I have my mom who has not really used so many of the good gifts that she has received, and I keep telling her, when are you ever going to use them? So those things are there. So I remembered of that. And yeah, wonderful like ideas that I loved how she had shared. And the whole chapter I feel talked more about a money relationship. So hoarding is also a money like a relationship that people have with money, where they want to just hoard on to everything that they have rather than spending, rather than giving it out. So that's a tendency. And I feel our money relationship very much affects and defines our personality to a greater extent. I also agreed with her fact that many people, many families, and there, if money, even if money, it's like a common saying that money can't buy happiness, but it definitely keeps you satisfied, and it's like a fuel of life. I feel where it definitely is very very important. To a certain extent. Otherwise, if we totally think that money is not important, I've seen like the worst come out of people, even poor people, right? Why robberies happen, why things like that happen, because of money, obviously, because they're short of money, as she explained in the earlier part, where income levels affect people's happiness. So. Yeah, I agreed to most of it, and I loved the whole chapter and the way she has actually narrated it. So yeah, thank you for that and wonderful reading today. Yeah. Anyone else wants to add something quick or
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
yes, Suman,
Uh,
yeah.
yes. Uh, Money is no doubt, it can truly be an asset, because we have been on this earth to enjoy, basically to have different experiences and our own perspectives sometimes our own perspectives and the surroundings we are exposed to or we live into may affect our mindset also. Keeping aside the basic necessities, other things, even if we go deep in basic necessities, also, even they also get affected by the surroundings we are exposed to or we live in. So, various lifetime examples have been given in this book, real life examples, how we hoard money, why we hoard. Sometimes many reasons are there of hoarding. Sometimes we may have lack mindset. That's we want to hoard. But sometimes it may be the real scenario that you may want to save for your future. For that, you may have to save. So different scenarios and different contexts have been given. So I'm really liking this book. Nice. It's very nice. Thank you so much. And one thing more, like
Yeah.
sometimes a people, any person may have, may be rich or may have money enough to spend on luxuries, but his passion, like a painter has a passion of painting only. He may need a pen and papers only. So it depends on the contexts and scenarios and mindset, maybe goals. Yes, thank you.
Someone that was very beautiful. Thank you. Very well put. Anyone else has anything to add on?
Yeah, just quickly say a few words.
Yeah.
The first word that came to me while reading this is very relatable. She takes us through memories where we have related with things, money, and the experiences similar to what she has expressed. Uh, but as far as I look at money and happiness, if we connect both, then it is very relative as to how we are relating to each thing, and it is also comparative at times. Whether you compare it with other things, value of other things, how it, compare with other people, or what they possess versus what you have. It also looks about, how you look or approach materialistic thing, like whether you actually enjoy having material possessions or not. This also adds to the dynamics. There are rules which change as per how you look at money, whether you look at it from a more status or growth perspective, whether you have a value of for money or you see just as a necessity, whether you look at money from an abundant perspective or scarcity perspective. Most importantly, this entire narrative evoked a lot of emotions. So there is a lot of emotion connect with both happiness, because somewhere we are yearning for that, and the money also has is a channel where through which we can maybe easily attain money, or rather happiness through money. So I feel that money can give us happiness, yes, but it may not be permanent. And sometimes we do have relics which will be saved because they don't have the materialistic value per se, but they have a value for that emotion which it keeps evoking, and that is much more than the value you can put on that stuff, right? And it is also a prideful possession at times that I have this, I got this, and I own this. So it also talks about how one thing can add so much value in life in spite of you paying very less, or you might have received it for free. So yeah, and certain utilities she talked about which are like more of a ongoing consumption, which might not add so much to the happiness thing. But yes, at least feeling comfortable that you have enough money, and then you can think about being happy or not. But till you don't have enough money, you are somewhere in kind of a scarcity mode that if I had more money I would be happier, or it would be easier. There also seems to be a cultural and societal impression of how money is treated generally, or where we derive our values on relation to money also. It also somewhere reflects our identity, how we link money and happiness to our identity, to what is the scale of reference or measurement that we have. with reference to how do you identify with money, or how comfortable is your relation with money. And as I told earlier, the author has done a very deep evaluation and explored many perspectives. But the most striking thing again is relatable. It makes the narrative entirely relatable and enjoyable to read. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Manish Talvi. That was very deep and insightful, very well captured.
I
Is
want to
anyone?
add,
Yeah, please go ahead.
um, I want to add that as she said that we save money for future, uh, but what happens is our mindset works like this, that what we save for something, like if I'm saving to use the money if I have some illness, or for future that I'll buy a car, or anything we are saving our money for, that something will happen in our life. Like if we don't save for medical expenses, we will tend to believe that we are fit, and we will practice some exercises or actions which will make us really fit. Like what I want to say is that if you are saving money for using it for the expense of medicines, then you will have those illnesses, those diseases, because your mindset will become like that. You will eat things which are not healthy, you will not exercise, you will have a routine which will make you sick, because what we think becomes our subconscious programming, and it affects. So we need to save money, but for a good purpose. Our purpose for saving money should be very positive, so that we don't do some actions which will make us fall ill, or have something which will spend our saved money for those expenses which are undesirable. That's my
Yeah,
viewpoint.
beautiful. What's your name? AAVC.
My name is Aarti.
Aarti, that was a very different spin you have given. Save money for joy and happiness, for goodness, not for a rainy day like when we get sick. And by chance, if we think like that, at a subconscious level, we are building ourselves to spend money for an illness, right? So,
Right, right,
at a
Deepa.
subconscious level only, we should think positive and for joy and happiness. So, the insurance thing and all we do and saving money for that, yeah, maybe we should do it, but not at a very thinking about it. Yeah, we should eat healthy, we should do our fitness, exercise, do our savers every day. Mhm. So, that would keep us fitter. And maybe the rainy day never happens and everything happens for the good. Beautiful,
Yes,
Aarti. Very well
we
said.
we need to have insurance, that we are
Yeah.
having insurance, but
Mm.
with not in view that I will fall ill and I will use this
Yes.
insurance.
Very beautiful. Very well said. That was a different way of looking at things. Happiness comes from thinking happy, and being a satisfier, not just a maximizer. Mm.
Yes,
So,
yes. Even
what we are
a
going to,
single flower bought for ourselves brings us happiness, rather than a whole bouquet of not our choice.
yes. And having chai with a group of friends at a small stall can give us lots of happiness rather than going to an expensive resort and spending lots of money and being conscious and worrying. I am doling out 50 or 500 rupees for a 5 rupee worth of chai and thinking about and worrying. But at the end of the day, we'll only have the status and the prestige and the ego and the pride of having had it there. So, and that stress and tension can actually add on to our BP and ill health. Then having a good laughter, wholehearted, belly full of laughter at a chai stall and having that 5 or 15 rupees ka chai, that can give us actually good health and happiness. So, yeah, scrimping and
Deepa,
saving for a rainy day is bad. Yeah,
I
yeah,
have a different view on this too. That
yeah,
rather
yeah.
than
Please, please
buying
go ahead.
from a, we can go in a luxury hotel or resort at times.
Okay.
But rather than buying from there and making rich richer, we need to buy from small shops, small stalls, so that a poor can get a chance to be rich.
Yes, yes. And the laughter, the chat, and the talk we can have at a
Yes,
small
that
stall,
that cannot be done
we
in a
won't
very
do that in a big
sophisticated
way. Yeah.
environment.
Yeah, we'll be very conscious how much we love, how loud we are, what kind of shares we are doing.
So
And
true,
we
true.
can't be comfortable. That's what I was thinking.
So true.
But at a free place, where everyone comes, we are not so conscious. Yeah, we'll always maintain the discipline and decorum and be well mannered, but might not be in our comfort zone. Yeah, I love going to a five-star hotel and having my meal and good time, but that doesn't give us the entire freedom, is what I meant. We are more conscious about how we sit, how we talk, how we hold ourselves.
What we are
Um,
wearing, how we
yeah,
are
what we
looking.
are wearing, and if the pictures of that thing is coming in the right place. So we are being more conscious that. So that's what I meant. And yeah, today's reading was very insightful. Please join us, everyone, tomorrow and bring more of your friends. We'll do the final part of this chapter, and maybe we'll recap the entire previous 6 months. We are halfway through the year. This book is basically on resolutions. So we'll recapture whatever resolutions we had on Jan 1st. How far have we come to fulfilling those resolutions? It starts with, decluttering our home, doing something healthy for our own health, eating healthy, building better relationships with our family, with our children, and how we are fulfilling our dreams in relation with regards to our career, with regards to making money. So all these things the writer Gretchen Rubin has taken us through in the past 6 months. So please join us with more of your friends, and we'll take sort of a call on how far we have come with our resolutions in the past 6 months, with the seventh month starting now. So it was great having you all. If anyone
Yeah,
has
just
anything to add, please add.
yeah. I just
Uh,
I just want to add something.
yeah,
So
yeah,
for everyone,
Mansi.
yeah, not on the part we read. I already shared that. Tomorrow I'll share more. So what for everyone who's here, like I can see some new faces over here. So just sharing everyone with everyone that we read this book one maybe 2 or 3 days in a month only, because this book has a format of a monthly structure kind of a thing. So we read it either before the month starts, or in the beginning of the month, depending on the earlier book, previous book that is ongoing in the reading time. And we have a dedicated group for this book. Basically, the idea is to have our own happiness project. Deepa is obviously leading the group and all of that. So if anyone wants to get started with their own happiness project, you're most welcome, and please insist and do join the group, so we can just use that as an accountability thing, and we can share our experiences as we go through the month over there, because we are just reading and meeting up for this book only once a month. So we have kept that group as a connector for us. So so if you want to be there, like just wanting to announce that, that's it. Yeah. So yeah. So are we done, Deepa? I just want to take the summary, like just ask.
Yeah, yeah, we are done. Yeah, please,
Okay,
you can
okay, cool.
take the
Yeah.
summary.
Thank you,
Then I won't
everyone. Do
take the
join us
summary.
tomorrow also, because a little part is left, and tomorrow we will have more enriched discussion on this, and then we'll start with a new book, maybe tomorrow or day after, depending on how it takes, like including the recap. So yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Hello.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Deepa. You led it very beautifully. Thank you so
Thank
much
you. Thank you
Thank
for the
you,
for
thank you.
taking
opportunity.
this.
Thank you for attending. So, Mansi, are you taking the notes?
Yes, yes. I have already shared about the reading. Now I'm just taking about the member shares, and whatever comes up, I'll share that in the group. If you want to take additionally, you
No,
can. Don't worry.
no,
You're
you
free
do
to
it.
do
You
that.
do it. Why are confusion? You take it, we can have that.
Yeah,
That
yeah. No,
one is
because sometimes we get different pointers, right? Depending on our
Mhm.
prompts and all. That is why.
No, it's
Otherwise,
fine.
I'm anyways taking it. Don't worry.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, yeah. I'll share that in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It was a good this thing na today. Like wonderful.
Yeah.
Many people showed up also, and there were some new faces, and the
Mm,
discussion was also very good today.
yeah. A different way of looking at things they have added. That was good. That what
Yeah,
Aarti said, I just love that. Don't prepare
yeah.
for the bad thing that might
Yeah,
actually happen. That is also manifesting the bad thing, right?
yeah, yeah.
That was good.
Okay. I have taken Deepa, so I'll
Yeah,
share.
yeah.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And yeah, have a great day. Bye.
Yeah, same
See
to
you
you.
tomorrow.
Bye bye. Take care.